Hello and welcome to Bandwidth's first live stream. This evening we're going to be playing you some madrigals from the 16th and 17th centuries. Bandwidth is an ensemble that I started about a year ago at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. And we came together to try and make music live. With me today I have 4 musicians spread around the UK and we are all here making music as it happens. So going round, we've got Steph Yim on clarinet, and she's in Blackburn. Ruth Heaney on the violin, and she's in Manchester. Richard English, who's playing the double bass, and he's in Birmingham. And Harry, who's playing the synthesizer, and he's in North London. And I've got me in Wimbledon, in South London. So we're all over the UK. Bandwidth is a really strange project because we have to play with a thing called latency, and this is the delay that comes with playing on the internet. So someone will make a sound and then it will take some time to travel across the internet, and then someone else will hear it. And maybe Ruth and Harry, can you just demonstrate this for us? Ruth, if you count down 3, 2, 1 and then clap, and Harry will clap as he hears the clap.
3, 2, 1. Ooh.
That wasn't bad.
Oh, now, I think actually...
Was that in time?
It's okay.
It's all right. What we're doing here is quite experimental. Trying to pull 4 different video feeds into my computer and then stream it to you is a little tricky. So you'll bear with us if there are any freezing screens, any technical problems. We'll try and keep it as smooth as possible, but who knows what will happen. So I'm sorry if Harry was freezing there a little bit. What you notice is that there's a time delay between when you make a sound and when you hear it, and we sort of play around with this in order to make new music. If you've got any questions about what we're doing, feel free to ask them in the chat. We're going to start off with a madrigal by Maddalena Casulana called Stavasi, il mio bel sol. Maddalena Casulana was a lutenist, composer and singer, and we don't know very much about her. We do know that she was the first woman to have a whole book of her music published. She was from the north of Italy, somewhere around Florence or Venice. She also knew Orlando de Lassus, and her music was performed in Munich by him. So, without further ado, we're going to start off with Stavasi, il mio bel sol.
Everyone ready? Yep. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that was lovely. It's really strange sitting and listening here. I think we were all talking before the concert about how we were having butterflies, and this sort of interaction where you're all watching us, but we can't really hear you or feel you is really strange. For our next piece, we are going to play some music by Carlo Gesualdo. Now, Gesualdo is most famous for murdering his wife. She was caught having an affair. And this is sort of a story that's been told often about Gesualdo's music. It is very different to a lot of earlier Renaissance music and sort of quite atonal. It does some strange things. And often this narrative of him being this psychopath who wrote weird music gets peddled. In actual fact, there's an awful lot of music from around the early 1600s that plays around with harmony. And actually, all of these madrigals from his sixth book of madrigals is just one example. So, for our next piece, we are going to play Tu piangi or Filli mia by Carlo Gesualdo. Beautiful. We've got a question here from the Kingston Chamber Orchestra asking about whether there's much arrangement going on. Maybe one of you can, Harry. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what we're doing here?
Sure. Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Great. So Freddie's kind of the mastermind behind this, but yeah. So firstly, we've arranged it from a lot of time from voices because it's madrigals, so into this slightly more unusual combination. So there's firstly that instrumental sort of move from vocal to instrumental, but beyond that, on some pieces I've been improvising a bit, so sort of improvising as if a continuo, but also adding in some more modern harmony. And with the latency issue, with the fact we're not playing absolutely vertically in time, and therefore we have to be creative with that, we sort of come up with different ways, and a lot of the time we have checkpoints in the piece, so we'll kind of have a moment where we all regroup in a sense. We allow ourselves to kind of do our own thing independently, and then come to this meeting point, and that hopefully brings about a nice sense of cohesion after that sort of independent, hopefully pleasant sense of chaos, I guess.
I see. It's useful to point out that what we're playing here is straight from the music that we haven't actually. Some of the music that we play with Bandwidth, we've rearranged it and we've sort of taken out the bar lines and reimagined it. But what we're doing here is actually straight from the score. You know, I've transcribed some manuscripts and then we're playing straight off them.
Yeah, the difference between this and when we first started is crazy, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we did this.
We had all these scores with lines and things all over the place, and actually, what's worked better is all the simple stuff, where we haven't really touched the score too much, but it kind of works.
We sort of think about line, don't we, and about melodies, and I think maybe when you're listening, it's something that I'm really keen that you focus on, that you sort of have this piece of music, and then the latency sort of pulls it apart. And though that everyone's not sort of sitting together, in the same temporal space, actually all these melody lines that make up the music still exist there. I think this is why some of this Renaissance music works so well, because it's all built around counterpoint and around different melody lines. So actually, as they interact, we sort of have this same thing that's transformed in the latency.
Yeah.
Right. Shall we move on? We've got one of the things that I've been really interested in with Bandwidth is to explore different, more unusual composers. I think often canonical composers can sometimes sound really rubbish through latency. Like I think there's pretty much no Beethoven that we would want to play with Bandwidth. It just wouldn't work. But some more unusual things work really well. We've got a piece here.
I think that would be a musical vision of hell, playing Beethoven, like a Beethoven symphony in latency. It would be chaos, and not a good form of chaos.
We've got a piece here called Io Vamo Vita Mia by Vittoria Aleotti. Aleotti was a nun. She's from the late 16th century, and was her parents were musicians, I think, and they trained her as a harpsichord player, and she went to a specific nunnery that focused on its musical talents, and though she was a nun, she actually used to produce quite a lot of music. I think this was quite a common thing in Italy. I know of an all-female orchestra from Venice they were all nuns, and I think this was kind of a thing that if you were a nun, you could sort of do music in a way that sometimes other women weren't allowed to. So here is Io Famo Vita Mia. I apologise for the Italian. I'm trying my best. By Vittoria Aleotti. I think one of the things that never gets old is when we play together by accident. There was one moment about a page before the end of that where Harry and Steph were just, you were just like playing at exactly the same time, and that's not something that we can determine. And yeah, you know, that sort of randomness is really exciting. Oh, we have another question from my lovely mother, Maria Myers. How do you manage volume balance between the instruments? Okay, this is a tech question here, and do keep them coming in, and we can have a chat before we play our last piece. Yeah, so I'm running. We sort of got two systems going on here. The ensemble use a program called Source Connect, and that they're using that as a monitor essentially. They can hear high quality audio of each other, and that's how they can, you know, hear where everyone is and sort of try and play vaguely in the same space. I'm then running everyone through a software called OBS, which stands for Open Broadcast Software, and I'm pulling each person's feed into that. So I've got a mixing board, and I can actually change the levels. But I suppose that there are dynamic things going on as well. I mean, how do you guys think about dynamics? Not really something I've thought about when you're playing. Do you just sort of play mezzo forte or?
I mean, I try and vary it as though I am hopefully playing a melodic line as though it was a melody. So I try and just follow that. I think one of the hardest things is that we can't hear what you can hear. So we have no idea what the concert is sounding like, because what we're hearing through Source Connect is very different to what comes out on the end of OBS.
And it's sort of an impossibility, because there's the latency for you to hear it, and then it has to come to me, and then if I had to send it back to you, then you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to hear it.
No.
Yeah. but yeah, so I mean, I've tried to balance the mix so that we can have a sort of hear as much of everyone as possible. But yeah, it's thinking about lines, isn't it? Now, before we move on to our last piece, I would just like to say, if you've enjoyed the concert and you fancied contributing financially at all, we have a couple of things. We're doing this all for free because, well, I do it for the love of it. I think everyone else does it because they're my lovely friends and they want to do it for me. But these are we've had quite a few rehearsals on this, and they've, all four of them have put some amazing hard work into it. We have a Ko-fi link down below, and if you wanted to pay for the equivalent concert ticket, whether it's an in-person concert, you can do that there. If you're more interested in the concept of bandwidth, you can sponsor us on Patreon, and we have a few tiers, and as well as paying monthly to sponsor us, you can get access to some behind the scenes things, help us talk about repertoire, see all of our rehearsals from behind the scenes. Don't know if that's something that you want to see or not, but they can sometimes be quite interesting. How about lots of bad jokes and lots of ideas about how we negotiate the that all being said, we're going to move on to our last piece. This is a madrigal called Si Vittorie, Si Belle by Claudio Monteverdi. This is from his 6th book of madrigals. From his 8th book of madrigals. That's the one. And it's for 2 tenors and basso continuo. So I thought this would fit really nicely. So we have violin and clarinet playing the 2 tenor parts, and then Richard's playing the basso part, and then Harry is sort of emulating a continuo on his synthesizer. So this is Si Vittorie, Si Belle. Thank you so much for watching our concert. If you see somewhere down there, there is a subscribe button. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you will help us out no end by subscribing. So please do like the video as well. And we have an Instagram and a Facebook page, and you can follow us for all our updates. But for now, thank you so much for watching. It's been really lovely to play to someone. And until the next time, keep safe and keep well, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching.